Okay, well, let me uh, let me start by welcoming you to the class formally, Dr. Rose. I'm going to call you Rose affectionately because I've known you for quite a while. And before we begin, I want to say to everyone present that I've actually been at this for 52 years now. So I've had a lot of colleagues and I've been very fortunate. I've had some really good ones, but Dr. Rose, I wouldn't even say we've had our ups and downs, but we've had a few disagreements along the way. But what I want to acknowledge her for mostly is her contribution to my career and my understanding of education. Um, and having said that, welcome. My name is Professor Mark Gura, as you know, Rose, and welcome to our Zoom-based class, which is technology integration for school leaders. And welcome. And uh,
Okay, thank you for the,
you're breaking up a little bit, but just push on.
well, you're breaking up as well, but we're not going to break up. And although we've, as you stated, there are disagreements, may I state that what Dr. Gora and I embolize a show is the kinds of friendships, connections, communications that can develop as part of being a part of this community. Teaching is not an island-based activity. Teaching should be a community team. That's what this class is about, I think. It's about being a leader in education leader, but leading as a team, working together. Disagreements are not, and that's part of being different persons. So it's an honor, and you've added to my career, and hopefully everyone in the audience, this will add to your careers as you sit here in a community or you're listening at home, but you have a community that you're working with. So one thing is connect. Don't just look down at the script to the paper. Look at the person in the next room or in the same room with you. Connect and collaborate and enrich each other's careers, as Professor Gora and I have.
Okay, good. So we swapped messages endlessly and prepared tremendous notes. And we don't want to go on beyond, say, another 40 minutes at the most. But I want to introduce you formally by reading this bio, which I pulled from Edutopia, premier educational, I call it a magazine, which you contribute to with some regularity. Dr. Rose Reeseman is an ongoing veteran teacher educator who has paralleled her teaching with teacher research. Her writings have been published by ISTE, NCTE, that's the National Council of Teachers of English, ASCD, Corwin, the publisher. We wrote a book together for them, Penguin, Kappa Delta Pi. She's the founder of the Ditmas Writing Institute, based at her own school, Ditmas Middle School, which has been disseminated to almost 300 schools nationwide. Dr. Reisman was the 2020 ISTE Spotlight Literacy Practice winner and well deserved. And since I'm on a roll, I'm going to share with everyone that having known you for literally for decades, there's so many things we could talk about. But there's an idea. Oh, yeah, I still have a misspelling there. Um, there's an
Yes,
idea.
I was going to say that. All right.
Well, one moment, hold on. Let me just read this, and then I'm going to turn you loose. Uh, there's an idea we've been batting back and forth that we kind of really like, and it's an interesting idea. And this class is familiar with STEM and STEAM because it is one of our assignments. So here's the inquiry we've been wrapping our brains around. Can we develop and benefit from grouping subjects in a way that would be the flip side of STEAM? STEAM is science, engineering, and math, technology, and the arts, facilitated through technology and the arts. Uh, so, um, so similarly, could the arts be used to facilitate the humanities? So HART would stand for humanities, which would be literature and social studies. That's the H. A for art and T for technology. So could we group subjects together that way and get the same kind of benefit that the science side of things got for creating STEM and then STEAM? I think it's a great thing to be wondering about. And so, what I asked from Dr. Rose is, out of all of the things she's done, let's talk about some of her projects and some of her articles that kind of illustrate that and embody that concept and show how rich this can be. And I'm all, before I let you talk, Rose, I'm going to point out that you are an instructional coach at DITMIS, specializing in literacy and social studies instruction. And I think I forgot what I was going to say. And anyhow, so your main goal is to show teachers how to improve teaching and learning. Your goal is not technology per se, but it turns out that you use quite a bit of technology and you get those teachers to use quite a bit that they ordinarily wouldn't. And it's everything I hope this course is about, is because what we're after here is, if you're improving instruction, teaching and learning, how does tech fit in and why is it so necessary? Okay, that's my big intro. Why don't you jump into talking about this book that you've found for yourself and your colleagues and that resonated so much for you, called Fry Bread?
Okay, so our topic here, hi everyone, and I am a teacher. Of all those things that were read there in the bio, what's most important is I've never left the children. I like children. I love children. I listen to children. I listen to my colleagues. I enjoy, because I don't need to be there, I enjoy being with children. And that my job is to work for the children and to listen to them and to help them get literacy skills, reading, writing, things that are measured on those standardized tests, but things that will help them have their voice, choice, products, agency, meaning that they make something that represents them. And that's my main mission in life. But because we do it so intensely and so excitedly, yes, it does give them scores. Any child I've ever had, or the other teachers I collaborate with, they speak in multi-syllables. They know what words mean. They know how to use them. They know how to express them. Go back to, we're going to start with finding home. They know how to express them. They know how to take it and then express themselves, and then how to create. So I am going to show you, as part of this approach, which this is evolving. So you're in the premier listeners group for this, and you are going to help us evolve it, because as you listen, and we're going to all come together as colleagues, and that's part of this approach. We're going to talk about the heart of education: humanities, art, technology, and of course, the heart. Think of a heart, okay? We've all seen it. The artery is moving, the animation of the heart, the blood is going through. It's not just a module on a table. The blood. To
Okay,
look at
so Rose,
education, I hope we're showing the screen through. If they're not, I'll describe it through different color lenses, but it's the same education. So tonight, HART. So we start with the red glasses, and if you've ever worn red eyeglasses that are tinted red, you see things red. If you go to blue, you're going to see the same world, but you're going to see it through blue. Or if you're working with Photoshop, you can filter it through different shades. Okay. We're looking at some, and guess what? There's social studies and LA humanities, as Professor Gore is saying. And I'm going to say that his approach is validated over at the University of Pittsburgh. I am part of a special group which is called the Civics and Literacy Initiative, meaning that's why they got me. They need social studies. I'm also licensed in that, but they got me because they're partnering, just as he said, the flip side of STEM, social studies and literacy. Now, how does that work out in real life? First, go to this. We're starting with kindergarten because some of you, I don't know what grades our listeners are in, and it doesn't
Whole variety. Uh,
matter.
I don't know if I can
Actually, one of
just
the great,
just describe that page,
what?
okay? Just describe the page and how you use it, because I don't know if I have that graphic.
Private. Just go to Finding Home where you have the picture of the you have a picture of the dancer with yeah, okay, fine. Stop over there. Excellent. I'm starting with the youngest grade. This isn't Dr. Gora's fault. I'm starting with the youngest. So what I want to show you is that this can go from K through high school and beyond. Okay, so don't say, oh, it was a great lesson, but you know what? I'm teaching eighth grade HMH, so this wasn't any good for me because I don't teach K through 2 for all the grades. And Trillin said, a great literacy critic, that all books, K through 95 or 106, all books are about love, freedom, friendship, survival, and death. Here's a book for K through Thundercloud, a real woman. Rhea Thundercloud is an indigenous person, except if you saw her without her indigenous costume on that she dances, you wouldn't know it. Rhea Thundercloud is from a actual tribe. Actually, she's from two tribes. One is in Wisconsin and one is in New Mexico. And her name Rhea in English, but her name is Wakaja Haja Pigwaga, which is beautiful Thunder Woman. And so this is a memoir, believe it or not, although picture book. And it's about when she was 4 years old, she was given a dress and it was called the jingle dress. So I want you all to think about a dance that you went to or that was part of a wedding or a celebration or even a family party that you went to as a child. Dr. Gura, can you remember any dances at any sort of parties at all in your childhood, a wedding, a bar mitzvah,
Uh,
some celebration, any kind of dance that what?
yes, but
Can
before,
you remember one?
can I remember one? Well, I can remember doing the twist, but I want you to be mindful. Yeah, yeah, please finish this
That's great.
thought.
That's,
But
yeah.
what we need to do here is show how you create an experience of this book that goes way beyond the hard copy book through the use of tech. We want to do that too, all right?
That's exactly what That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm going through the activities. We are awakening a memory, the same as this is a memoir format, and it's in a picture book form. It's also called a historical information book, but it's contemporary. She's about 38 or 40 now. She's an actual dancer, Rhea Thundercloud, is an indigenous woman. And this month, October 15th to November 15th, is in History Month. And so we are creating some activities that will get students to understand that understand, leave it at the other illustration with her. To understand that all indigenous people are not out there wearing, what do you think, Pocahontas costumes like the Disney movie, but that they're real people, ordinary people. We know that they're from a tribe, but they also can affirm their culture. And her whole career is about identifying her dance. And her dance wasn't the twist. It wasn't the Hava Nagila dance. It wasn't a circle Greek dance. Her dance is a dance of eagles, a thunder dance. Her dance is a dance using a jingle, which was given tones that jingled, and it was given to her. And in her assuming it and putting on the dress, she really did much more. She was showing that she was affirming who she was, her cultural background, indigenous person, and dancing her culture. But as the picture shows, now move it up a little bit. Now move it up a little bit, the graphics, Dr. Gura. As the illustration shows, she also, in her culture, the eagle brings us the blessings of the ancestors. So that when she did that dance, the eagle symbolically to her brought the blessings of the ancestors. Now, please point the camera here. But she was not only an indigenous person from those two tribes, she's also an American. And she's also international. So she learned jazz. Somebody I know and love is a ballroom dancer. She learned jazz and modern dance and ballet and all types of dance because she's also not only indigenous, she's a regular person. And that's something that children do not know today. So those the activities would be interview your parents or older people in your house about a dance or a celebration in your culture. Now, you might say, how can a K through 2 kid interview? They can take a picture. They can record with a cell phone their family member speaking. They can be shown an object. Here's the dress I wore to my Quinacera, my 15th, my birthday, Latinx birthday. Here it is. In fact, there was just recently a TV show about this. They're doing a documentary. A woman saved her dress and she saved the music and she saved the crown. And that is, children can take pictures of that. Children, even K through 2, can do an object story because they can record it on their phone. Parents and
Okay.
together. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be a documentary, but
It-
that's the
it-
activity. So we got art, we got tech, or they can be object, and we have ELA, we have SOARS, Science of Reading, because they can read this and recite it, and we
Tell
have
us,
social studies. What is an indigenous person and who are they?
tell us about bread. That's in the title of the
Yeah.
book. And then we'll go to some tech items. So what is
Okay.
fried bread?
Now, fry is the second fry bread. Go back to the cover of that. It says fry bread on it. Fry bread is the second I chose. And again, we've got a guy who actually is a professor of law. The guy who wrote this book had never written a children's book. Stop over there. Notice it got an award, the Robert J. Silbert Award for the best informational children's book. So, gee, it's a picture book, but it's information. And what's it information about? Fry bread. Does fry bread still exist? Yeah. And this guy, who is 40 or 47 now, or something like that, he's a professor of law, he critic for adults. He had never written a book before. So why the heck would he write a children's book? He has an income. Children's books don't make money. He wrote it because he couldn't find any books that had pictures of indigenous people like that he knew, not indigenous people like Pocahontas. Every kid, if you ask them, and I did do it, they'll tell you who's an American Indian indigenous. Oh, gee, it must be Pocahontas, right? I have her costume. I saw the movie. Well, no, he came from a family in Oklahoma, and, and then also there's not only one indigenous person. So we start with a pre-survey. That's a social studies technique, prior knowledge. And there's probably one Indian tribe, maybe two, and they wear feathers. And then there's Pocahontas outfit, and they have an arrow mascots in football, but no. Here in the end pages and in other pages, there's a wall. Yes, there's a wall here with all of the names somewhere among the illustrations of the indigenous tribes. And you know what? There are hundreds of them. And the child sees it here in technology. So you might say, okay. And then he gives us a recipe. And then let's look at pictures. Dr. Gorish, just show us some pictures of the family of this book. They're the same type of illustrations,
I'm gonna
but
show
when
that.
you look at the pictures, you what? Okay, you don't only see indigenous people. You see some blonde people. You see diverse people because indigenous people nowadays don't all live on the reservation. Guess what? Thank you, Dr. Gora. Stop over there. Indigenous people live among us and they don't have a sign that says indigenous. And if we asked adults, by the way, I don't think adults would have such brilliant answers either. And in his illustrations, which he did by sending, guess what, student audience, he sent photos of his family to his illustrator, who is not an indigenous person, but he collaborated with her. That's part of technology. We can collaborate. Family eating fry bread. And he wanted us to all make it. So he gave us, there's lots of recipes for it because there is not one single recipe. He
Yeah.
gave us his recipe. And we found out that his grandmother is deceased. So we had to pick somebody else to be his grandmother. And if we want to, technology activities. We could film the children making fry bread, right? And that's a sequence. Those of us who teach ALA know we got to go sequence. Step one, procedural account on in HMH Advanced. Step one, step two, well, a recipe is that we can film the children
Okay.
doing it. And
Rose, stop
all
for a
we
second
got a
because
fetcher of different things, of different outfits. We can have the children again interview parents using technology, do a video, take pictures of the cookware, maybe different ingredients. He has pictures of that. Maybe pictures of the toys. In this book, there's illustrations of dolls and of outfits. I'm big into clothing. Well, there's illustrations of the patterns of clothes that his indigenous ancestors,
all right, Rosa,
cultural historians, thanks to technology, or
I'm
they can
watching.
paper engineer a book.
Rose, I'm watching the clock. So yeah, this
Done.
is good. Yeah, there's plenty of great activities. One of the things I wanted this group to see is that in your helping the teachers inform themselves and bring this alive for their students, you go out on the web obsessively looking for related items that are both can both be used as self PD, uh, things that they can show their students and things that will give them ideas. This is an example. You know, there are menu recipes for fry bread on the web, and so this. Yeah, I know you're all about.
In that we have a grandmother actually making it who are not related to the
Going to
book.
show that in a
One of
second.
the things that's important in teaching,
I mean, here's a review
Okay,
of the book
I'll do
with,
that too. One
yeah,
of the things
quickly.
that's important in
Okay, yeah, so
one of
there,
the things that's important in teaching hard. Okay.
I simply want the group to see that while most teachers may, if they're fortunate to have a single copy or even a class set of a book like this, that's it for them. But as you've explained to me time and again, understanding books for students has to do with relating that book to the world they live in. And so, there are plenty of resources like this. There are recipes, real recipes. So I'm including the URLs for all of this. And what do we have here? We have an interview with
May
the,
I say one other
yeah, go ahead.
with the actual author? And he's on television with his son, who's a character in the book, and the son reads aloud. Now, imagine a kid learning this book and then seeing that the author, there he is, very attractive looking. He's a professor and cinema critic, but he's there reading the book with his child, and the child reads himself, and the kid watching it could imagine what the author is. And yes, he could see as she can see the picture on the book flap, but there is the author, and he's speaking. And we also have now this all the books that I'm presenting that has most books are read aloud, audibles, and the audibles are free.
He said, oh,
Repeat. So
oh.
that if you can't afford a set of books, you can play the audible for your class. And as teachers, as audibles where the kids have to listen to an audible and answer questions, how better, and they see the pictures going. And if you want to get details, teach certain skills in English or social studies or science or math, by the way, other content, you play it over what to look for, which is skills you scavenger hunt, focus skill development, but it's kind of fun. This is the illustrator who's Peruvian, and we can hear her speak, and she explains how she knew nothing about it, but they set up a side Facebook where they exchanged pictures from his life, and that helped her with her illustrations. And he calls it that he put Easter eggs, little eggs, little hints of his life in the book. And he wants you to look at the pictures in the back. He includes back material, and you don't have to buy his book. And you don't have to buy Finding Your Dance. And you don't have to buy the next book I'm going to do. And you don't even have to buy New Kid. You can get the Audible class set in school, and they're not giving you money, and you don't want to go for donor's choice. You can do it, and they can learn and discover, and they learn digital literacy.
And often you can,
I'll take it.
many of these books you can get on YouTube, the author reading the book or someone else who's authorized to read the book via video. So the kids get the benefit of this work. And it makes the reach of the teacher so much greater. Uh, I remember, when I was in the classroom, it was so hard to get your hands on a particular book. Now, if you're wise about your searching and the places you can go to, you can get the book, you can get the book read, and all of these enrichment items, like what better here would be an explanation by a Navajo grandmother on how to bake fry bread. Okay, so
And that okay, thank you. That's
here it
cheap
is.
enough so that the kids could do it.
Here's the book read by
Yes,
the.
there he is. That's the book by him. himself, and it's really fun because he tells you at the beginning that he created this book for children. He had never written for children because he couldn't find any books for his own kids with contemporary indigenous persons. So here we are in this month, and I'm sure your school might be teaching about indigenous persons. They teach about the three historical presences who existed, mostly Pocahontas, thanks to Disney, and that's it. And the children don't learn about people like his grandmother making fry bread. And they don't learn about a dancer like Rhea Thundercloud and why how she dances other styles too, but she dances and affirms her own identity. E pluribus unum. America is about out of the many cultural identities, there's one, but you see a mosaic, Dr. Gora, a mosaic where we can see each tile of the cultures. And now we're on time, right on time, to choice number 3. So we went from K through 2, K through 5, because here you could research the history. This is a little controversial. It's the bread of affliction. They made historically because those were the only ingredients they had and they weren't nutrient-like. And the people who moved the indigenous persons from their land gave them these cheesy ingredients, but they made something beautiful out of it. So it's seen as maybe this is oppression, except that in Jewish culture, we eat matzah, which is called the bread of affliction, because we had unleavened bread when we were exiting Egypt as slaves and we had to bake quickly. Now we get to contemporary. Here is The
Okay, so
New Kid. This is
stop
a
for a second,
middle
Rose.
school book.
Why did I put this in? Because all of these 4 books, I don't know if we'll get to all 4, have come from articles you've written. But this is a new book for you. You just came across this book, I don't know, this week because I never heard you mention it before. So I'm saying I know you're going to
Oh,
write
no,
a full write up of this.
I didn't come across this book this week. I've known about this book for years and I have taught it, but it was in the He Wrote a Book with J versus K. So you never, because I often talk about K, Kwame Alexander,
What's
but
this
he
book about?
represents Jerry. It's a Newbery Award winning author, writer, illustrator, and he's basically, as he says, he is a graphic narrative person. Now, you know, graphic narratives, when I was going to school in the 20th century, graphic narratives were things I read comic books, I myself, but they weren't taught in the classroom. But with Mouse by Art Spiegelberg, the graphic and Spiegelman graphic narratives became accepted literature, winning Pulitzer Prizes, winning Newbery Awards, etc. This is a book, New Kid. Well, right away, social studies being new. New kid, this is a public school kid, real smart, an artist, Jordan, who's accepted into a private, privileged student school in the same city as a scholarship student. Well, although America is supposed to be a classless society, we all know that there's a difference from the neighborhood you live in, the building, the apartment, the clothes you wear, particularly if you're a teenager, your backpack, your sneakers, your hoodie, where you do what recreations you do, what can't afford to do, what you eat, etc. He's talented kid, and in fact, in New York City, there is such a program, which well, I won't say, I'll just say it wasn't a program I chose to work in, which takes kids out of public schools and puts them into prep schools and pays their tuition. But there are, of course, social and emotional and class interactive, well, I'll say challenges or I'll say deficits, depending how you look at it. Now, but we don't need all that book. You have to read it. There are class changes between class differences between kids from a neighborhood that's a Title I and kids from a neighborhood that's Upper East Side or Upper West Side or Tribeca. We can see in his face, Jordan, we can see in his face sometimes isolation. graphic narratives blow up the key quotes, blow up and blow out emotions, and display them in an easily accessible. Jordan sold out. And they show here he's white faced and he's given his soul, SOULED, sold out to others. Jordan having relationship dilemmas, Jordan wondering, and it's all spelled out in the graphic narrative, which is, of course, accessible to kids. Now, let's get the activities. You can have the kids using Comic Book Creator or using any template, storybook template online, draw their own comic book, either of visiting this privileged school from whatever school they're in, transferred and given a scholarship to a privileged school where they don't fit in money-wise, but they fit in talent-wise. And how do they get along? And you can you can put yourself into the story using Comic Book Creator, using storyboard templates, or you can read a story about an actual kid who go online and research an actual kid who gets this scholarship. And here again, Jerry Craft has an Instagram page. He's always showing who he is, and he believes many of these authors, Jerry, Kwame Alexander, are running Instagram careers. Well, this is very appealing to your students because, gee, here's our author as an Instagram person, and you can follow their Instagram. And of course, they're PG correct because they want the parents and the schools to buy their book. And they give you, well, isn't it great to meet Jerry over here? And we can see Jerry's face, the face of Jordan, because they're also telling, although it's fiction, they're really telling their own story exaggerated way. So you've got memoir writing, you've got, and technology means maybe you as a kid already see you're going to be a comic artist, and there are comic artists, there are comic illustrators and comic story persons, and they work together in teams, so you can also get groups going. And you don't have to do a complex technology. Comic book creator I've worked with, and I'm a non-artist, not an artist. So this is all a wonderful, wonderful way to, yes. And here are book talks, a simple technology activity. There is a kid who's 13 years old. He calls his talks the e-talks. He's a kid. And for years, this kid's run interviews on books. I use him in different classes. Here's another kid interviewing it. So your kids can interview and connect, talk about issues in the book. They encounter such a story. Is this realistic, or is this just what you call a popular best-selling pitch by Jerry Kraft? So he has new kid, he's got another follow-up to it. There's two in this series. There's a new kid, there's another book about a kid on the block. He has like 3 books and doing this to make a best-selling thing. Kids interview it, and look at these faces just running. Even if you're showing the kids a book talk that's not well done, and I purposely sometimes show the ones that aren't well done, because then my kids become, that got on there. Well, I
This
sure can do better. And they're also, maybe they could even pitch or present to Professor Gura's class and do as well as I and Professor Gura.
this girl, Rose, has got to be a high school student. And I went and looked at her channel. She's been doing this, doing these book talks, opinions, reviews, presentations. She's been doing this for 4 or 5 years. It's kind of amusing when you go into her channel and look at her face. I mean, I think she started when she was around 11. She must have been a seventh grader and decided to start a YouTube channel of her book reviews and recommendations. Now, here she's talking about another one of this author's, well, yeah, she's talking about School Trip. which is another piece by Jerry
Yeah.
Craft.
So Jerry is a kind of chronicler. Jerry is a, yes. And all of these authors have got terrific sites, which have Instagram. They have videos of the author talking, and you don't have to spend time. I know some of you listening to this are going, oh, yeah. So this lady spends loads of hours searching on the internet. I'm a busy teacher. I'm not going to do that. Well, no, this lady spends 90 seconds and she puts in a search engine, interview with Jerry Craft, and she goes to videos. And then you got short videos, you got long videos. Now the other kid is called, he's called he calls his the E channel. His name is Ethan, I think. And he also has been doing it. So this author, this is accessible, it's likable, and it teaches the kids commercial skills. It teaches them poise. It teaches them whatever job world you're going to go into, or being interviewed for a scholarship, as one of my students is being in 2 weeks, or got herself an ambassadorship, Visa Cameron. That student, she's already learned from me
Yeah. Now
reading
notice
these books and doing book talks.
notice this is
All right, which book
the
do
author's
you,
own site, and he's offering, that's a link. There's a free teacher's guide there, as there are for many of these
yes,
books.
there is.
And here we have a
All
book
right. What do you want to
from a
do as
school
the last
librarian.
book?
Yeah, all right, well, we'll move on to another book then.
Which would you like to do as the last one? We've done three. Would you like to do the contest I have going, which is a younger grade, or would you like to do March, which is for high school John L. Lewis, and which is a graphic
Uh, I, I
narrative,
only
award
have
winning?
I only have prepared, Rose, either I got out the
Oh,
footage or the
okay,
or the
fine.
Allen
All right.
schedule.
Now, what's important? Thank you. What's important? I'm going to very quickly. What's important about these projects? And again, some of you may be sitting here, well, I don't teach middle school. Or, well, I teach middle school and I certainly am not going to be able to do a K through 2 book. These books, this one I call Elastic. Now, Elastic has a bad name nowadays. There's Spanx to push you in if you're overweight, but Elastic, we don't like that concept. But in reading, this is a book about getting the vote out. So you might say, oh, but it's a picture book. And yes, it is a picture book, but the Mark Schulman also wrote a book called Scroll, which is a bully book for middle school kids. And in this book, I voted. All Mark Schulman wanted to do was make a seat ID. Kids can't vote, even if you're teaching high school, unless your kid happens to be 18, they're not going to be able to vote. So kids may write off this whole voting thing. Who cares? I can't do it anyway. Don't want to vote, don't like voting. I'm out for. But what Mark Schulman makes the point of is yes, the kid can get the vote out. The kid can interview, let's get activities, can interview parents about maybe why they don't want to vote, or maybe why they'd love to vote, but they're not citizens yet, or maybe first time voters like older siblings who say, I don't even want to bother to register, or yes, I'd love to vote because I came to this country, and the country I came from, you can't vote. So I darn well want to cast my vote. And his challenge was make a sticker. And so now let's go down. How does technology help? Technology gave us, his book shows pages of stickers there, and the
By
sticker
the way,
just has to say, I voted or I got the vote out. But I went and I researched. There's a whole batch of stickers. You put in, I got the vote out 2025 or 2024 or 2026 next year. You find a whole batch of kids' designs. And it's only, and they can fool around with fonts. You don't, there's Zeus did it. You can fool around with fonts. You graphic person, fool around with different fonts. Should we use Arial? Should we use what kind of a general font? Now, these projects that my students did, repeat, my students did. This student, I was particularly proud. Yes, we have it displayed there. This student, I have a little box of things which are just puzzle parts that fell apart from the STEM lesson that don't fit in anything anymore. Things to cut up, bits of newspaper, voter guides to cut up. And this student grabbed from the newspaper, from the thing, and made a 3D get the vote out. This student
All
over
right. Well,
here
so
used a
I'm
lot of New
going.
York City's gives you stickers.
So you know what,
Let's now
Rose?
come to a conclusion. So this
No,
is
no,
our
no
K through.
conclude,
This is an elastic. You could do this in high
no conclusion yet. I'm going to take you to task.
school.
These are, this was a good activity for you to engage these kids in, and the author suggested this that besides reading the book and understanding the book, let's do something. Let's make it real and concrete. But as you've said, you're a non-artist and a non-art teacher. But what I want you to take away from working with me is the kids could have done better if they had used tech. And so, yeah, there are some resources here that you pointed me to. So one thing that you found online, this is from Canva. If nothing else, uh, I was an art teacher. Having examples for kids to look at and analyze and absorb is a big help in engaging them in the activity. So just finding these online was a help. And yeah, here I found a little from like this is on the West Coast. A news. This is from a news cast, TV newscast. They were covering an event. The school district had a I voted sticker art contest. So again, the technology provides us with context and motivation and useful samples. And and I would suggest that a teacher like you or your teachers use Google Slides to create stickers or sticker-like messages. Why? Because everybody's got Google Slides and they know how to use it. So I think we can actually maybe run through the final book if it's here. I think I think it got dropped out. Well, so anyhow, let me just kind of sum this up a bit, Rose, and ask you a few questions because you've been doing this for a long time. So my takeaway from listening, and I've been paying attention to your articles and your talks on this for a long time, is that there's, again, earlier I said classically what happens is there's the teacher either in whole class instruction, or if they're lucky, they've got a lot of copies. It's individual instruction. It's about this single hard copy thing, and that's the end of it. Maybe they have a short conversation, but what I've taken from your work is how how by using available technology is an infinitely richer experience given, and probably some of this is easier, easier for the teacher as well. Yeah, please respond to that.
Okay, yes. So I think that what technology gives, and I'm not saying it because I'm here in your class, you know that I've embraced it. I didn't have to embrace it because I can sputter on minus it. What it gives is a viable, share-worthy, shareable online digital URL product not only in the hand, but product that you can click to and share with a friend, with a peer class, network, show your family, have on your own an evidence documentation of your own agency, voice, choice, and pride. I produced it. In the book New Kid, Jordan gets his printed out yearbook that he did the cover of at the end of in this exclusive school. And there it is, his cover design. And he can click to it and he can share it. And here it is. We're going to have a website of the sticker of the I voted, and the kid will see their name and it'll be shared with kids in 3 states. And the dance, you can have a video of the different finding our dance of the different families and click and show it in your school, share it with another. They go, let's say, and see what their dances are, and they've got different cultures. So it's immediately a broad audience, project-based learning, audience, voice, agency. It's joyous when you get something printed. Get something up on the Guru channel or the Touro channel or the whoever, or even your school website. It's joyous. And if you notice, audience, this is joyous sharing through technology. And so that's what I think happens that years ago could only happen. Yeah, you'd have one print copy or two. And I
Right.
mean, okay, you might lose it, or how many could you share it with?
Classically,
Other
and
question.
classically, student publishing has been a kid brings his work home, and mom puts it up on the refrigerator door with a magnet. And we've seen so many examples of student work on blogs and school. It's infinitely better. But I'll also say, and I can get away with saying this because I'm a former art teacher, the tech enables kids to easily produce something that to them looks like something. And other people can look at it and know what they meant to communicate. And that really is quite an advantage. So, excuse me. The other thing I wanted to maybe we can begin to wrap this up is that if I was watching this, I would wonder, well, now how universal is this? Did Rose and Mark pick some one-off books that just happened to have, more resources available online and downloadable than the average book? Or, comment on how
Okay.
applicable are these ideas?
I have Okay, I'm holding up again those glasses. I hope you're getting it, or if you're not, it's red sunglasses. Today I decided to make that theme. And the idea is if you look through the lens of finding free resources, and I read a book now as a person, not as a teacher, as a person, I immediately look for my author. I look to see an interview. I put the author's name in. I look to see an interview. If I'm doing a children's book, I look to see a read aloud or audible. It takes 90 seconds. Yes, Mark, I would say it's increasingly. I am not accurate number, but I would say that 85 to 90% of every text you teach, I'm going to go that far in our experience, has a video interview, read some digital accompaniment to the book, which will give your kids excitement so that you can put in, what do you think the author looks like? What do you think the author sounds like? What do you think this means in real time? And let's go to the footage. So you're studying Malala Yousafzai, and she's talking about being shot in her head. And unfortunately, you can see the footage of that thing that happened. And we can see Malala today with 6-inch heels promoting her latest book. And we're talking about Jerry. We can drop by his Instagram and see what store he was at today and and that's very exciting for kids because I certainly couldn't see all the wonderful authors I was reading about and see them on television talking about the book that I was reading. It also authenticates the work. So I would say I'm giving that high percentage, and you don't have to take a lot of time. You take 90 seconds, type in the name, type in audio, type in video, and they'll even go to short ones and then they go to long. So if you want to do 2 minutes, you'll find that 2 minutes. So I think it's very exciting. And I think that that way, technology, it does the engagement for us. We don't have to shoot, we don't have to get the author there. And they usually don't let you take a video of them, by the way, if they do ever come to your school, because they know that would lose them money. So you don't need that. You can get them all right there and just 90 seconds of your time at your seat, waiting to eat your dinner or whatever.
Well said. And one thing we didn't even talk about is tasking students to make things as a challenge and requiring them to go online and do research to find if they're doing a collage, to find images appropriate to their theme or get background information, all sorts of stuff. So this really, you know, this is my life as a reader as well. I've been reading Rick Rubin, a record producer, has a book on creativity. Well, and this is quite natural. I've read his book. I've I've listened to his podcast because of the book. I've gone to his website. I've gone to Wikipedia to see who he is, and on and on and on and on. This is more authentic to life in the real world as a literate being than simply holding the hard copy. And that's not to diminish the hard copy. This
And
includes.
I am a woman who grew up with the hard copy. I'll be honest about age. I grew up where there was only hard copy. That's probably why I'm very attached to it. But the truth is, I read that way now. I call it, and it's a service beyond heart. So we've taken boring education with the plastic model of the heart, which you see in some science classes with the arteries and all, and we're pumping it up and the blood is flowing, and you have humanities and ELA and you have art and you have tech, but you also ironically making the person ready for the real world, because in the real world you've got to make references, you got to be able to communicate and use digital available resources, and you have to be able, what we're doing tonight in some way, you have to be able to reach your audience and you have to excite them. And by the way, they got to be engaged. And all you need to do as a teacher is the same thing as with the print text. And this is what you're going to look for when you listen to this digital recording. And he gives us a hint. And who do you see in this digital recording who might look like a character in the book? Oh, there's the sun, they said when they saw the sun with the eyeglasses. There's the sun. That's in fry bread. So I thank you. It's been a pleasure starting to watch this heart come alive with the life energies pumping through it, and hopefully the audience and you, Dr. Gura, will continue to make this story, and I'm going to continue on to the next part of my
I'll do my
activity.
best. I'll do my best. I want to ask if any of the students want to make a comment or ask a question before Rose goes. And if not, on behalf of the group, Rose, thanks very much. I know you spent a lot of time sending me all of these graphics to assemble in our notes, and
I hope that you felt I helped your heart to begin to beat aloud and excite and engage.
I feel it right here, Rose. Thank you very much for being with us.